Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of Pitstop, the official webcast of the Forza Le Mans Series. I'm Alex Williams, here today as is becoming semi-usual. I have Kyle Pokrefsky, John Maltese and Mitchell Legg. How are you doing, guys?
Good.
Not bad.
Good.
Apart from the slight delay, but we fortunately don't have to get into that, because we've learnt our lesson from last week.
Yeah.
Meaning,
I'm glad I wasn't part of that. I really am.
I'll not take
You
that
would
as a
have
compliment.
fun.
It could have been worse. Anyway, before we get shouted at for going off topic instantly, obviously this week we'll be talking pretty much entirely about Sebring, which was the first race of the season that took place last weekend. Although how any of you might have forgotten that, I'm not sure. But yeah, anyone want to start us off on how your race was? Mitch?
Sting.
Okay, my race
Let's sing
started and then it ended. I lagged out in the first 10 minutes because apparently Xbox was having a bunch of connection issues apparently over the weekend because it was a free weekend or something. I don't know. It's something I read. But yeah, it was pretty much over as soon as it started. Unfortunate, but just show up at Catalunya and try making up as much points as I can.
Yeah, I had roughly the same issue with that because I think out of everybody in the lobby, only who was it? Solo, I think it was, had lag for me, and he was the car that was always in front of me. So I spent 30 minutes just losing distance because of that, and eventually, well, guess I just gave up. But yeah, hopefully it's better next week.
Well, it's a better track, but Carlson's, what was yours?
Yeah. Well, I actually got to finish. It was a pretty good lobby, really. I mean, got bumped down to lobby 3 late in qualifying, but led that lobby from pole pretty much the entire race. We had really good pace. Good rate. You know, it was definitely a good. I think a good display of how strong we're going to be this year. Little issue on the last lap that I think we'll detail a bit more later. But overall, a decent top 5 run to start the year, and I think we'll look to improve on that at Catalunya probably.
Fair enough. There's not much I can say really for mine.
I think we all had roughly the same problems.
But yeah, I was actually quite with the half an hour I managed. I was quite happy with the fact that I wasn't, for the first few laps at least, wasn't being dropped by Shifty, which is a nice change. Until I then started spinning repeatedly, but if we ignore that side of it, I was at least going faster for once there. I guess that's a positive. But then had an interesting moment with a fuse box in my power. So then it ended. So we'll move on from that without having to go further into it. So who were both in terms of, well, we'll start with results. The winners for each lobby. HMR Motorsport in LMP1 expected?
I think for us, at least from the host of the show, I think he was the kind of the favorite, and he didn't disappoint.
Yeah, well, I think I picked him. Everybody else picked him, and it seemed pretty much of a sure bet to get the win. Not exactly sure how the lobby really went and how tough it would have been, but he did come out with the podium for that one.
I do remember Hamilton was pushing him quite a lot, I think. He seemed a lot more competitive, but then I don't know what happened. Because before I lagged out, I think Hamilton had passed him.
So it would have been a tight race between the top 4 then.
Yeah.
Yeah, before I lagged out, I remember seeing Hamilton in the lead, so I thought he'd pretty much do a repeat of last year and just drive away with it. But I'm surprised he finished outside the podium, really.
Yeah, I think that's his first finish outside of the top 3 since early last year, like Le Mans maybe.
It wouldn't surprise me, to be fair.
No,
It's been a while.
it's definitely a low point for Ricky in considering how he ended last year.
You could argue he came in with slightly less preparation than he might normally have.
True.
But it didn't seem to affect him outside of qualifying.
But I think a
Not
lot of
really.
surprises. I think a lot of surprises were just some of the people that didn't turn up. I mean, we had I think neither of the Straka cars turned up. I think Senna missed the race, We had a few people that I think would have been contenders that missed the race.
Do you mean people
So-
who qualified or people who signed up but didn't do
No,
either?
just people who signed up. But I mean, yeah, a lot of people didn't even show up to qualify. The P1 grid was, I think, a lot smaller than a lot of people expected it would be.
Yeah, well, there's only 5 cars, and there's no, not 5.
There's 5 finished.
There's 9 cars.
Yeah, Flagship Wild.
5 finished, 4 fell
Oh,
out.
Yeah, it was,
no, Flagship Wild is classed as finishing at least.
Yeah, he was just he was behind
yeah.
the GTC cars.
RG Maverick DNF, Live for Speed DNF, General So DNF,
DNF.
Quite a few
Um,
DNSs as well, I think.
F4H Bandicoot
Yeah,
and
there
Jester
was
Race did not start. So they were the LMP1 cars who I assume qualified.
Yeah.
It was. I was quite surprised though, because normally it has one of the stronger turnouts, if not the strongest turnout.
It tends to, yeah.
Right.
We did last year at Sebring. Had a huge grid.
Is this one larger than last year's, or
Not sure, actually.
you should go look that up?
Well,
See
we had
here.
38 qualify this year.
I think it was roughly that last year.
Because we had a lot of people who signed up, and we were expecting it to be by far the.
Yeah, I think we were probably estimating 40 plus cars easily at one point.
Yeah, there are 43 cars entered last year for Sebring. 38 this year. It's same neighborhood, really.
Yeah, I think the big thing was, I think a lot of people, again, like we get every year with Sebring, I find there's people that sign up but then just seem to disappear before, anything's even gotten off.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there was 10 people that didn't start last year compared to only 6 this year, so that's an improvement.
Yeah, so at least we're actually getting more people that show up out of those that have actually signed up for the series. So
I mean, to be fair, we're making it sound like a terrible thing that only
No, it's-
36.
it was still a
for
great-
the kind of series it is. It's
Still
a good turnout.
number. Yeah.
So
I think the big difference is this year. I think we're going to keep a lot of those people throughout the season.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
we're going
I
to have
see
as
that,
much
yeah.
of a drop off.
No, well, a lot of these guys are the same from last year, and it does appear that we're going to have quite a good turnout for hopefully all the races this year.
Yeah.
it'd be nice if people started having at least a mild rivalry with each other, just so they had a reason to turn up that wasn't to win the championship if they couldn't. At least that might motivate more people. Midget can crash into some more people, that'll sort it all out. Anyway, moving on, LMP2, won by one Velox Canadian, who did...
Looks like it's followed closely by his teammate Silence, so
Yeah.
that Starworks right on top as predicted.
Yeah. I believe early in the going, as I think Silence sat on the pole for the class, and I think he led most of the early going. But from what I've read from him, I think he had gearbox trouble and had to pit, and that was what gave Canadian the eventual lead. But I think either way, it would have been one of the two of them, because I think they were in a class of their own at Sebring.
Yeah, they
really
pretty much looking at the results. They pretty much lapped the entire field. So
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
really
well, they had
else
2 laps
left
over
behind,
third
yeah.
position.
I think outside of them crashing, none of us really had a chance on raw pace.
No.
Canadian did say that he was going to win the championship to me before we did the first episode, so clearly he's
We'll see about
He's quite
that.
intense
take
on
it as a
that.
serious comment now instead of the joke we all obviously assumed it was.
And credit to Canadian as well. He finally got his
offense,
first
Kenny.
his first series victory after I think this is his 4th season running in the FLMS, and he finally managed to get a victory. So golf clap for
Yeah,
that.
Stuck out.
I'm not sure who has the record for being here longest without a win.
Well, I think it was Canadian, but now
I don't know.
with him out of it now, because Sting, you won last year.
Well, I think I won in my 10th start, so I really wasn't around for too long.
Yeah, that's true.
Alright.
Alex, have you won?
I
before?
won in LMP2 at Catalunya.
All right, so
a while
you've
ago.
won. That's a good question. I think maybe we'll have to try to find that out for next week, perhaps.
Mm.
It's probably someone
Yeah,
obvious
it's one to
like
do some
Johnny.
homework on.
We'll get someone crunching numbers.
We need a statistician for this. Because we always bring up things and then we don't know what we're talking
And
about.
then we're just sitting here going,
Maybe it's this person.
We can hire Bourne to
Yeah, we'll get Bourne.
do the
Yeah.
maths. But and speaking of Bourne, we'll move on to
GT.
fantastic segue into that. We'll move on to GTE, which was Velox Polaris from V12 Phoenix from Bourne KIA for the podium.
And I think
I'm
I
so
think-
proud of him.
in our terms, I think we were pretty much split on whether it would be Johnny or James for the victory.
Yeah.
So not a huge surprise there.
Hmm.
I think I like to think I could have at least pushed Bourne for a podium if I'd stayed in the race, but especially because he had damage, and somehow I didn't. But Shifty was. In fact, we can talk about that more in the bit about incidents. So, you know, 'cause his controller attacked him. Shifty was doing well, sticking with James, and then I passed him as he was complaining of his controller turning off and crashing him into a wall. So he was definitely out of position. Midget. What happened to Midget?
He finished, I think.
I'm sure he
Yeah,
crashed,
he's
but I
listed
can't
as
remember
finishing. He
why.
got
I
87
don't say he had
laps.
an issue or not. I don't remember. But I'm proud of how the BMWs did because preseason testing we didn't know how good we were going to be. And Bourne said, I asked him after the race how well the car was. He said it's really competitive. So
Yeah.
I think
we're really
starting
looking
the year
forward to
off with a
certain
podium,
tracks.
I think, is a good way to start
It's
the
a
year
bit of
for
a
you
sign that
guys.
it's competitive.
Well, last
yeah.
week on the live one we did last week, Bourne said the quote he had was that he wanted his aim for the season was a podium, at least one podium, and then try and get him consistently. He's already achieved half of that in the
Yeah,
first
he's
race, which
doing all right.
so, you can't
So I
really
suppose
complain
perhaps
with
we
that.
should move on to the
We already
The
know
new
what
boy
tracks
class?
we're targeting to do good at. So now we just need to work on the other tracks. Like Catalunya, it looks like we're probably going to get into that next week. It looks like the Porsche and Ferrari are going to be the fastest, and we got our work cut out for us. So, got to work on that.
Well, James has put all of us into no talking mode now, so
Yeah. Well,
So-
What a killjoy.
it's probably
Well,
better to
I
have
think,
me in no talking mode.
Are you guys going to get rid of those terrible rims, by the way?
Oh hell
Ferrari.
no!
Oh,
If I'm going to find a
You know,
picture
I-
of them, Johnny
I
has
I don't
one.
care for Ferrari, but those rims are pretty. I'll say it.
Johnny, oh, there's one. There is a picture of my car with its fantastic red rims.
All
makes
right,
me sick when I look at it.
moving on. Move on before one of us throws up here.
Actually, you know what? Last year for March, since it's month St. Patrick's Day is, I think I made the BMW's rims green. I probably have to do that again.
Hell, I'm already set for that. My car's already green. And Irish, unfortunately. Oh,
Anyway,
God, I
should've
moving
seen
on
the whole
before we
car
get
green
into
last year.
Shit.
GTC.
I don't remember.
Sorry, Neil.
No, you don't have to apologise to Neil. But yeah, GTC. Unless I've mistaken.
It was Perfect English who won, leading on from Michelle, and then third was HLR Razor, which is a bit of a surprise there, but
GTC, I think, became more of not only a survival class, but I think a lot of the people dropped out, either from damage or lag or something. Obviously, Mitch dropped out early on due to lag
Stuttgart
issues.
lagged out, I heard, and Solo stopped to relieve himself from the
Yeah.
services.
Solo decided to
Classic
take a
solo
break.
fashion.
I think, and Vermilion ran pretty consistently all day, but
It
just
looked
didn't
like
have the
him and
pace.
Razor were quite, Razor and Vermilion, they seem to be quite sort of similarly matched up when it came to pace.
Well, they finished on
So
the
it
same
would've
lap,
been-
so
Yeah.
over 3 hours. That's
But I think early on, Michelle kind of had a little bit of a challenge for Perfect, but really once the race kind of spread out, I think Perfect pretty much had it sewn up. He led flag to flag, really.
Yeah,
And
it's
again,
quite
he
impressive, really.
he was pretty much the favorite, I think, with all of us to win.
I forgot. I think I picked Michelle because I raced with him another series at Sebring, and I think he knows that track like the back of his hand. He's really
Michelle,
good there.
Michelle did run a good race, but I just think
Right.
just Perfect. He just didn't seem to quite have the pace for Perfect. But I think Michelle's going to be a
Right.
strong contender this year. in GTC.
Yeah, there's a lot of strong contenders in there. Stuttgart's probably going to win one.
We missed
Michigan
a lot
won.
of people again.
If Solo
There were a lot of
doesn't-
people for GTC that never showed up, like people like Bebo, CQR Marty.
Yeah, it's quite
Yeah.
a small grid for what had actually signed up to race.
Hopefully, it's
so-
just a first week clashing with other series thing.
Yeah.
Hope so.
We can, we'll say it is just to keep us all happy.
Yeah.
Right now, from winners, we'll go straight into the losers. Well, not losers. Who lost out?
Well, yeah, because
Be a
we're
nice
going to
way to
losers,
phrase it.
everybody except the.
If you
four
lost-
people.
If you're in this podcast and you lost out, raise your hand. Yeah.
completely unbiased.
It's terrible. But I guess starting with LMP1, we've got Motorhead and Venom. They finished both on the same lap, and it was a lap off them that it was Neil and Ricky that had finished. So
I think the biggest
They obviously
surprise
got
was
quite a,
probably Ricky that ended up finishing a lap down and off the podium. I think
yeah,
definitely for him that's kind of a big surprise.
yeah, it's quite
And I
a,
think people like
quite a
Bandicoot.
shocker.
I mean, people like Bandicoot in general, both of whom looked very strong in the Toyotas in testing and qualifying, both failing to finish and in Bandicoot's case failing to start. So not a good race for Toyota at all.
Right.
Yeah, I
I
would have
think
expected
general was
more
more
from
technical
people.
issues or something.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
really, I think Toyota was probably one of the biggest surprises because I think they were definitely in with a shot to win, and I think also just in with a shot to be a contending team this year. But they're starting off after the first race without a single point in the board.
Anyone
P2
else?
wise, I
Yeah.
think really everybody but Starworks lost out. 'Cause none of us touched them at that point. Really, besides
Well,
them, it was all really close. Just looking at the times that people in Lobby 2 and Lobby 3 were running, we were all running very close. I mean, really, I was fairly happy with my race, despite the fact that I've been bumped to Lobby 3. I mean, it was a good race. Just didn't end the way we wanted, but
Well,
I
apart
mean,
from the incident that you suffered at the end
Yeah.
of the race.
I mean, I'm disappointed because I think if I'd been in Lobby 2, if I'd just been able to sneak in there, I think I may have had a chance to at least fight for a podium with Maynard and Nablo, but, it is what it is. It's only the first race of the year, and you can't dwell on that.
No.
Yeah, P2, everybody but the Star Wars cars pretty much were the losers, so to speak.
What were they looking like in test? Not the official test, just like the testing times photo in general. Were they looking quick then, or were they?
In testing, they were
Are we
quick.
accusing
but
them
in,
of
in testing, they
sandbagging?
were quick, but they weren't out of our range quick. Like they were
Yeah,
fastest, but they weren't like ridiculously fastest. But then in qualifying,
claim
they seemed to
sandbagging
find
on that.
about a second somewhere.
So it's an annoying Red Bull thing rather than a
Yes, it's an annoying.
brawn, brawn out of
it's-
nowhere.
Yeah,
sort of
it's
thing.
potentially a Vettel thing. We'll see.
Which one of them has to be Vel?
Oh, that's a good question.
Canadian likes to raise his finger.
True.
He's far too nice to do anything offensive, so I'll just assume there's some other.
Well, anyways, GTE. We'll just segue out of that.
Oh,
Well, the obvious one in GT would be Shifty.
Yeah,
I
I
think.
think he was definitely.
Yeah,
he got
I'd go with
screwed out of that.
Because it is a wired controller as well, which I believe makes it even weirder. They just turned off
Yeah.
and straight back on.
I mean, Shifty has had some odd luck in the past while. Just in the last year, he had really bad luck with lagging out and nature attacking him.
To be fair, the
In
year
the
before that
races.
though, he had very good luck with not lagging out, and
True, he did have a fairly good
So
2011.
it balances.
Yeah. I think even people like you, Alex, and you, Sting as well. I think you guys, maybe. I mean, Alex, I think you had the pace to probably at least get a podium, and Sting, I don't know, maybe a fifth again. So I think you guys going out early
We were
was.
wondering if that was either your fifth or 55th lag out in the lobby at the time. Was there any variation of a?
Of a number 5.
Yeah. Were you
numbers
running in
just
fifth when you
follow
lagged
me.
out?
Like a dark cloud, man. What'd you say?
Were you running in fifth when you lagged out? Because someone made a joke about that, and I couldn't actually remember if you were.
Well, you qualified 5th, so.
I think maybe I wasn't 5th when I
Oh
lagged
dear.
out.
I think the 5th place
a dark
curse is coming back to
truth,
get you.
What can I say?
Yeah, I think you just need to start. Just go in the pits and stop.
What's your car
Skip
number
a lap.
again, Sting?
55, isn't it?
79,
Oh.
which is 2 numbers after 5 and 2 numbers after 7. It all ties in.
Oh dear.
Right.
Just madness.
GTC wise,
Just quickly picking it up and going on.
yeah, I think
oh, man.
Stuttgart was definitely one of the big losers because
He
I
would have been
know
off the podium.
early on I think he actually got some damage, so he wasn't quite on the pace I think he really had, and then he hit lag mid race, which again took him out completely. But I think he would have definitely been a podium contender. But again,
I think,
GTC really was just pretty standard fare. I mean, I don't think anybody could have really touched perfect English for that win.
No.
He was.
No, he definitely had it on everybody. I think
Yeah.
the best I could hope for was probably 4th if Stuttgart hung around. I kind of expected more out of Solo too after everybody sort of hyped him up a bit.
I know. I think we talked him up a little bit too much, and now we look stupid.
I hope we didn't appear to be his like personal propaganda machine.
His
on the
cheerleading
flight.
squad here. So I'm going to balance that out and say Solo's terrible. There. Balance things out.
Ouch.
Sorry, Solo.
Out of
We can edit that out.
He did finish last.
So moving on to whatever's next.
Well, I had any interesting moments and surprises, but I think we kind of covered that. So,
A little bit, yeah.
unless there's anything else you want to mention in particular for surprises from the race, or
The fact that only Solo had lag quite surprised me.
I think Johnny and James have had some issue with lag, didn't they? Sting, do you remember them? Johnny couldn't stay within about 150 feet of James without sort of having the car come flying towards him at high speed. So I guess that counts as having trouble with lag. But
I think there was lag in between a bunch of people since there was a bunch of issues this entire weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even through
I
lobby
think we
3,
had-
we
I
just
think we had a rather large amount of lag outs this weekend.
Yeah. But again,
We'll
that's
blame
the,
that on Xbox.
that's the new people, you know, that's everyone's internet trying to get acquainted with each other on Forza's servers, which is kind of like, I don't have an analogy for that, but I'll just say it's
Kind of
bad.
like episode 2.
Yeah,
ow,
pretty much. It's a train wreck.
don't have to punch ourselves. People can do that for us.
So
I don't know,
moving
just
on to whatever's
seemed,
next.
Well, I guess someone here wants to talk about an incident.
Okay, I'll talk a little
get
bit
there.
about this because there's an ongoing investigation, and I don't want to make myself liable. But
You want to
needless
just
to
give
say,
everyone a quick rundown of what happened?
yeah. So I mean, literally, pretty much the entire race in Lobby 3, I led Indy Colts 1888 by, I don't know, probably no more than 500 feet. I mean, we were pretty much tied together for the entire 3 hours. But I mean, it was clean racing. It was pretty good. And then on the last lap, at least from my point of view, he decided to run into me, let's say, more than a few times on the straightaway coming off the hairpin, basically destroying the rear end of my car. And from then on, he basically was free to take the position. So, again, I'm not going to say too much because there's an ongoing investigation, and that's for the steward to decide now. But needless to say, I do feel I was rather robbed of the position that I'd rightfully earned.
Fair enough. Have you submitted the investigation for that then?
Oh yeah, that's
Okay.
it's ongoing.
So of course we can show no bias towards
Yes.
you. So it's probably your fault.
Yeah, it's probably my fault. Blame Canada. That's the safe thing to do at this point.
Does anyone else here get involved in
Uh,
anything?
I wasn't able to get close enough to be able to run into other people, fortunately.
And I believe there was a little bit of incident that I think was partially down to a little bit of lag with Mike in perfect English. I think Mike I think just due to a bit of lag, bumped into the back of him, and they both got a little bit of damage, but pretty much carried on from then.
Yeah, it didn't seem to slow perfect English down.
No, yeah, Mike got a little bit of damage from that, but there was no harm done really. But then, like I said, later on in the race, Mike unfortunately lagged out.
Yeah, that's...
Like I said, not the
It's-
best
it's-
start to the year for everyone at Status GP.
It wasn't a great start for a lot of people, to be fair, though.
No, I think
Mm.
some people are going to have to be playing catch-up come Catalunya.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of rust and cobwebs to be sort of blown out at
Well-
this stage anyway, being the first race of the season.
I was about to say, on a similar sort of thing to that, was anyone surprised at the amount of, or lack of, depending on, I don't know how the other lobbies were, restarts that we all predicted to be
Yeah, we only
quite
had to
regular?
do one restart due to, I think, a little lag spike in our lobby. But really, we only had to do one actual restart. So, and I mean, when we did get a restart, I think it went pretty much all but cleanly. It's unfortunate that Mitch had to kind of drop back due to the lag between him and Solo, but I mean, really, I was amazed at how clean our lobby went because I was expecting chaos and destruction. And
Yeah, I totally expected a first corner pile up pretty much from every lobby, but it didn't seem to come, so
No,
it's quite
I think we underestimated everyone's I guess ability and I guess
ability
levels
to be
of,
careful.
I think James has been angry enough on the forums recently that people thought they should maybe just chill out a bit.
Just,
And,
yeah, because they don't want to cause any incidents. And despite what I think one person on the forums decided, despite any rumors and that, we will not be going to regional-based lobbies, people. Don't worry,
No.
No.
because yeah.
It's a
Plus
silly idea and it shouldn't have ever been brought up in the first place.
Plus, if we had a lobby with just Canadians, it wouldn't be any fun because we'd all be too nice to each other.
Because you're all boring.
Would you just?
Oh, God.
stay well away from this topic.
Yeah, let's just
Um,
leave that.
Yeah, I thought to continue, I thought we only restarted once in lobby 1 as well, unless no, we did only start once. Unfortunately, I got past Shifty and Born on the first start, so I was quite annoyed because my second
that's
start was
the-
nowhere near
Yeah,
as
I
good.
was flying on that
That's
first
always
start.
the kicker on the starts, right? Is when you're doing well and then somebody else mucks up and then you suffer because of it.
Well, to be fair, I think someone tapped Shifty and that was how I got past, but it wasn't me, so I was perfectly happy.
Next topic.
Yeah, I think we're a bit out of words for this.
Well, I have obviously the we have to get the results of our picks for the race.
Yes,
to
we
close.
do have those here.
I was just beforehand. I didn't put it down, but we mentioned it briefly just to say James has posted clarifying, and I believe we said
point system.
slightly changing the point system.
Yeah.
There's a thread on the forum, easy enough to find. Just basically, is it the gap between first and second's got slightly bigger?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
And the gaps between basically what used to be a 2016-14 split for the podium finishers, first through third, is now 20, 14, and 10.
Yep.
So the gap, so I think it puts a little more emphasis on winning, definitely.
Yeah, and instead of going out to, what was it, like 14th or 16th or something for points, it
It's
finishes
12th.
at like 12th is the
Which-
final point scorer.
is
And again, I think from third on, it goes down through 10, 9, 8, etc. So basically, if off, from anywhere from 4th to 12th, the points difference is very small. So,
is rewarding wins more than they were already a good thing for an endurance series?
I mean,
do you think?
I don't know. It
I'm
depends.
not totally sure, to be honest.
I think we'll have to see how
Yeah.
it works out. Really?
Yeah.
I think it.
I know,
Definitely with how close the non-podium positions are, like 4th through 6th, about how close they are now to, especially third place, only being 1 point ahead of 4th. It puts a lot less emphasis on, I think, or a lot more emphasis on, trying to
Trying
get
to
a
win.
good finish outside the podium.
Yeah.
But again, I think it'll, I think it'll put
It doesn't
it'll
really
kinda-
reward consistency anymore either.
No, I think it'll change people's attitude from I'm on the podium, that's good enough, to I'm gonna try to fight for the win because that'll be a lot more rewarding. But again,
Yeah.
we'll have to see. Because, I mean, consistency can still pay off, I think, definitely.
Well, yeah, obviously, if someone's winning, one in
Yeah.
every 5 races and crashing in the others,
Yeah.
and
I mean-
someone's finishing second, third consistently, or obviously they'll do better. But I mean,
Yeah, personally,
I would.
I think it's going to lead to some more exciting racing. Because last year, I think it stressed more of, if you just show up, you're pretty much going to
Yeah.
compete for a title.
Stan,
But now it's going to lead to drivers making more risks. And I actually thought, well, this was before the point system came out, but before Sebring, I thought there was going to be a lot more action going on. So maybe we would have saw like 3 restarts or something. Because it's Sebring. It's a big race. You got to go for it. Although there was exciting racing. So
when you bring in things like getting more action and drivers taking more risk, it also ends up with more arguments because there's a higher chance of people actually crashing.
And that's what you
another
always
reason
worry
why the
about
other
is
point system was good for.
if you're going to try to intensify competition, then there's always going to be clashes and disagreements. So I'm just hoping that we won't cause too much of that with the point system change. But again, I think with a system like that, when it changes, you've got to give it time, and we'll see come mid-season how it's worked out.
Well, I mean,
I guess compared to last year, I guess we'll see who's kind of lost out on this new point system, and perhaps who's gained, so to speak.
yeah, we can't complain about it until we tried it. So
Exactly.
we trust James. It would be interesting if someone would work out what the table would have been last year if the points were like this. I don't know if it'd actually be any different, but
I don't know. It's a good question.
it might be worth
Maybe.
having a look.
A little
When
bit.
you-
work it out for next week, maybe.
But
Who
yeah,
knows?
we'll get Bourne to do
particularly
that.
close.
Yeah, we need a statistician.
We'll get Bourne. So what's left?
Host picks. The
Yes.
results of.
I've got those here. So for P1, the general consensus was on Motorhead here, with the one exception being Sting, who picked Venom, who, to his credit, did finish second. But so far that would put pretty much everyone, Alex, Midget, myself, and Mitch with 1 point, and Sting was 0. Moving on to P2, again, the general consensus was the eventual winner, Canadian, with the exceptions being Midget choosing Silence, who, again, to his credit, did finish second and ran extremely well in the early going. And Alex picked Mike, who lagged out. So,
He would have won.
yeah, maybe.
Just pumping for mediocrity there, Alex.
Again,
Always.
coming to DTE, it was actually kind of split here with 3 people going for Johnny and the other 2 going for James. The 2 people being myself and Alex, his teammate. Obviously, Johnny won that one.
Mediocrity. That was for love and pride.
So Johnny obviously won that one. And as for GTC, it was split between Perfect English and Michelle, and then Mitch decided to pick himself.
I like that.
Questionable, but okay. He's
Was that for
confident.
mediocrity?
Yeah,
So that leaves
was.
Alex currently with 1 point. Midget has 3 points. I also have 3 points. Sting has 1 point, and Mitch has 3 points. So currently it's a 3-way tie for the lead of our fantasy league thing, and a 2-way tie for second and last.
Yeah.
The wooden spoon.
Sharing is awesome.
So again, I think that's going to be something interesting to watch as the season develops.
It'll be interesting to see who
He's
who
ever
gets
make the
lucky.
right picks.
Yeah.
Mm.
Who wins? Yeah. I don't know what we'll give for the winner. Perhaps, I don't know.
I don't think we'll be giving anything. We won't
No.
be donating anything to the winner.
No, we're not in a position to do that.
We could
But
put it-
anyways, that's your
Giving yourself something.
Forza Le Mans Series Pitcast Pod Stop Thing Fantasy League Challenge Event Series race.
It's good
or
to think you
something.
thought it out so seriously. Anyway,
I've covered all of what it could be, so we're good.
It's fallen off the cliff, haven't we?
are there any other points anyone wants to make briefly before we finish? Or
Not really. The only thing that I'm hoping for is we don't have this stupid free weekend thing anymore with Xbox, so
Yeah.
connection should be better. You'd
Yeah,
hope so.
because That, I mean, you do get a lot more people coming online then, and it does definitely affect the integrity of the servers for sure. Especially on a game like Forza, where the servers are already as brittle as cheese.
It does make me wonder what made Microsoft think, yeah, okay, we're going to have a free weekend to convince people to get Xbox Live, but we're not going to make sure the servers can handle it properly.
No. Here's Xbox Live, a lag-filled land of fun.
Not the best. Anyway, I shan't comment on their
Yeah,
policies. They probably know far more than me.
Yeah, well.
So I guess we should probably end it there.
Yeah.
So thanks guys for putting up with the slight delay by half an hour or so. Hopefully next time it will be
On time.
And
perhaps we'll even get everyone for once.
Yeah.
Yay.
I hope this doesn't become a habit.
No, it's
No,
not.
I
It's not
think-
planning on.
And
Yeah.
perhaps we'll be back at Catalunya for a live show. Perhaps.
Oh.
I will be at home, so I won't have good enough internet to stream. And
Oh, great, then we don't have to do one. Perfect.
Yes.
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 So I guess we'll be back
Party my
same
place.
time next week, probably.
same time,
Should be.
well, roughly, depending on how long.
So yeah,
it takes
next
to
week
upload,
we'll be
but
back
other
to,
than
I guess, talk about and preview round 2. Catalunya.
it'll basically be what the Sebring show was meant to be like if it hadn't gone
Did
horribly
do it
wrong.
live.
Yes.
Yeah.
And feel free to send in your questions as well. So we have
Yes,
something
we
to
do
talk
take
about.
mail.
If they're sensible.
Any quotes, thoughts?
Just no more questions about
answers.
how sexually attractive I am. I get it.
And on that note, thanks for watching Pitstop, the official webcast of the Forza Le Mans Series. Thanks, guys. And we'll see you next week.
Yes, absolutely. I certainly was in the race.